I am so proud.
Oh, thank you.
I am so proud of you. Congratulations. We had you walk out to Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run because your opponent, Joe Crowley, dedicated a rendition of the song to you after your victory, which was incredible. Did you have any idea that you would win?
You know, I spent the last year and a half knocking doors just thinking about 8:59 p.m. on Tuesday.
Wow.
And I had no idea or preparation for anything that would happen after that. I just figured I'm gonna work as hard as I can and just leave it up to the universe. So I think I was just so surprised. I was so shocked, you know, walking in there. Oh my goodness. I wasn't even checking on my phone. I was so nervous. Wow. And then so walking in was literally the moment I had seen the results.
And here you are.
Yeah.
You're only 28 years old. You'll be the youngest woman ever elected to Congress if you win. And in your campaign video, you said, women like me aren't supposed to run for office. Why did you run?
I ran because I felt like we could do better and that we could be better as a country. And I looked around. And we hadn't had a primary election in 14 years in New York 14. So it was clear that no one else was going to be doing this work. And I figured, you know what, if no one else is going to do it, and if I feel like we can be better, then that means it's my responsibility to do something.
And I just want to mention, and I think people should really know this, when you did win, a lot of people said this 28-year-old bartender who isn't qualified, you went to Boston University, you studied economics and international relations, you worked for Ted Kennedy, you worked for Bernie Sanders, you've been a political activist, all while also bartending and helping your mother because your father passed away.
Yeah, that's
so
exactly right.
People should know that.
Your win sent shockwaves basically through the Democratic Party. They did not expect it.
No.
They spent how much money did they spend on Crowley? A lot.
I mean, it was definitely well over $3 million.
And what did you spend?
You know, for the lion's share of the race, the very end, there was a lot more small dollar donations coming in. But we had about 300,000 up until like those very end days, and then things really started surging.
Okay, so there's quite a discrepancy in the amount of money that the Democratic Party put behind him. So do you think that that shows the Democratic Party at the moment does not get it? They don't understand to back people like you?
Yeah, well, I think what we're dealing with right now is the dynamics of power. Once someone has power, it is so hard to challenge it, even if you think that that other person was right. So I can't tell you how many times I would talk to people. People were afraid to even take pictures with me in public because of what that could mean.
Wow.
And
what kind of candidates?
Like you know, local city council members and state
the party apparatus,
there was a machine, there was a party apparatus, and you can't challenge the boss because then my job's going to be at risk.
Wow.
And so there were so many people behind closed doors that said, I want to support you, I believe you are what's best, but I can't because my job will be at risk. And there's a lot of that going on.
It happens on both sides, trust me.
It does.
Well, we've been talking about on the show, I believe there's a fracture in the Democratic Party, and you consider yourself a Democratic Socialist, like Bernie Sanders, correct? Nancy Pelosi was asked about you, and she didn't exactly give you a ringing endorsement. I mean, and you didn't exactly give her a ringing endorsement. Do you think that the future of the Democratic Party is socialism?
Well, first of all, there's a huge difference between socialism and democratic socialism. Democratic socialism, and really what that boils down to me, is the basic belief that I believe that in a moral and wealthy America, in a moral and modern America, no person should be too poor to live in this country. That is what I believe. And that's what I believe. And so I can understand that there may be some divisions. You know, I don't think people wake up in the morning and say, I'm a capitalist, you know? And so it's funny that when I win, this is the word that's always so thrown around.
I think Donald Trump wakes up with that exact word.
I mean, he may.
But do you think the future of the party is more Bernie than Nancy?
I think that, you know, I think that for young people, I think the future, here's what I think. I think the future of the party is working class. And I think that what I represent, and perhaps, you know, Senator Sanders, also Senator Warren, there's a lot of working class champions in the Democratic Party. And I do think that that's the future.
But they distort the word socialism. all the time.
Well, I think we should probably
with
save that conversation for another time, because I'm sure Megan and I would have disagreements on the socialism part of this. But it's about you today, and what you did was really amazing. You're obviously, I come from a different worldview on how to approach problems, but your campaign video was so fantastic.
Yes,
I wish we could have shown some of it. It was inspiring. It was real. It was relatable. And I really think that message that is something that's universal. You know, we can debate how you go about those, solving the problems, but, and I think that you should be really proud. And your mom, I know, is here too.
Yeah, she is.
I'm so proud of the fact that you have, she's right there's mom. That's an inspiration for so many women, and not only just women in general, but women of color. So you should be very, very proud of that. So I hear, though, that you potentially want to run for president one day. Is that true? Mom, is that true?
I don't know. My mom tells me that I used to say that as a kid, but it was so. I used to say this on the trails. Like, it's so hard to run for Congress. I cannot even imagine. I can't even imagine how folks like Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or any of these folks like run for president. It was exhausting just running in the Bronx and Queens.
Well, if Donald Trump can do it, honey, anybody can. So don't stop there if you don't want to.
And people are so excited right now on the heels of your win, because there is a hopeful, aspirational message you have. But there have been a lot of Trump wins this week. He got his travel ban. SCOTUS dealt a blow to the unions. We have the retirement of Justice Kennedy. What power do Democrats have right now?
Yeah. What I like to kind of think about is power in a much broader sense, instead of just who the incumbents in the party are and what they are capable of. I come from the background as an educator and as an organizer. So I believe that our power as a party is in organizing people, a mass movement of people. And when we organize people, when we win hearts and minds, then we impact what happens in those chambers. And that's, I think, where our power can really come from.
Wow. Thanks to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We'll be right back.
Left-wing rhetoric is hitting its boiling point.
If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, you get out and you create a crowd.
We must abolish ICE. This is the legislation that we need.
Are these new messages of the Democratic Party? Here to weigh in on this is nationally syndicated radio talk show host Dana Lash. Good morning to you, Dana. Is this the direction of the?
Good morning,
is this the message
everyone.
that they want to use for the midterms?
Apparently so, because they lack any sort of substantive policy proposals, and so now they have to default to this. This is what I find incredibly sad about the state of political discourse. And what really gets me is how the media narrative is that, well, this is brand new because it's Donald Trump, and this is Trump's America. Let's be real about this. We can go back all the way to the 60s to the Weatherman and Bill Ayers, who, let's not forget, was the gentleman, which I use that term, that's an abuse of that term, the guy who actually launched the former president's career in his living room. We can talk about Antifa, we can talk about Occupy, we can talk about Ferguson and Baltimore burning if we want to have a discussion on civility. But incivility is not the president being the first Republican of this high office to respond to it. And that's exactly what has happened with Donald Trump. Look, for so long, for more decades than any of us on this show have been alive, we have had our characters impugned, we have had our reputations assassinated by individuals on the far left who have no better way to respond to policy disputes than with violence, than with incendiary rhetoric, and everything that we're seeing now with Democrats. This is what they're doing when they realize that they're losing midterms. That blue wave that we hear so much about isn't a blue wave over Republicans. It's a blue wave within the Democrat Party, within the incendiary rhetoric of the very far socialist left, the Bernie bros, the whole the individual that you just showed, the girl who, the 28-year-old who won that primary, the full-on socialist, those individuals are the ones who are taking over the Democrat Party. That is their message. Their message is crumbs. Their message is let's abolish ICE. Their message is let's target Donald Trump Jr.'s kids and Brian Mast's kids. Let's target Steve Scalise and everyone else if we disagree on policy. That's what we've seen in the past several years. And responding to that incivility with rhetoric, that's not, if we're going to have a discussion of civility, let's look at what they've done.
So you're saying that essentially this young newcomer, somebody who had been a community organizer for Bernie Sanders, is pulling the party to the left. And there's a picture of her right there, 28 years old. She has set off an earthquake here in New York City and also Washington, D.C. But then you've got Nancy Pelosi yesterday talking about how, nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I think that newcomer is kind of riding in Bernie Sanders' wake a little bit. And I think it's not just her. I think that there are a number of candidates who are socialist around the country that are actually starting to gain ground in the Democrat Party. And for so long, people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they really enjoyed and benefited from the rhetoric of these far-left individuals. Those were the people who would go out and whip up emotions when there wasn't anything real that they could offer in terms of policy, while Trump and Republicans were talking about jobs and trade and health care. These individuals were out there telling people what bathrooms to use and screaming about in Russia and everything else, none of which has come to fruition, by the way. And so Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they really enjoyed that emotional, that whipping of emotion so that they could get people to go out and vote. But now it's actually gotten away from them. I mean, Chuck Schumer had to kind of walk Maxine Waters back with his recent remarks. They've lost control of their party. There's chaos in the Democrat Party. The media doesn't want to talk about it because they're too busy trying to drive a wedge between voters and the administration.
I mean, to be 28 years old, run that type of race. I read her background. It's very impressive, very smart. I think I give her all the credit in the world. It kind of scares me.
Well, it's easy when the opponent doesn't show up.
Well, I'm just talking about through her whole life, just by what I've read and what I've heard. But I will say this: it scares me that socialism is gaining ground in the country, politics aside. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But thanks, Dana.
Bernie Sanders said that what they believed is now becoming mainstream.
Yeah, free college, free money, free jobs, free housing. Not in capitalism. Thanks, Dana.